picture y'all put up there yesterday. That shit was crazy. You know what I'm saying? Yo, I was like, oh, he was really in deep.
Word. Crazy. Salakia. They hear me online, but I don't think the speakers turned up. It's not even on.
Yeah,
Testing. Most High in Christ.
picture of this devil got pops. And I mean,
All right, we in there.
his nose, I can't even describe it.
No, it was crazy. But let's roll with it. Salakia. Hey, Shalom, Yahweh, Shem, Yahweh, Shah, Baraka, thumb to all the brothers, Yahweh, Shema, the thumb by Shem, Yahweh, Shah, to all the sisters. This is Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge out here in Durham, North Carolina. Priest and officer of 1,000 Thaba while holding down the Sabbath service. Says my brother, Officer 500 Mahayar, couldn't be in today. Of course, I got my brother, Officer 500 Yanazar with me as well. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get right into it. Begin the Sabbath service. If you could hit the horn, Baba Kushah. Most High Christ. All right. And now with that, we'll get into the prayers. Imadium, which means to stand. Wapanya Kwadum, which means turn and face the east. We're going to start out with the Lord's Prayer. We're going to start out in the Hebrew.
Abanawa,
Shabbat
Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shemka, Yahweh, Malakwaka, Taba'ah, Ratazayaka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashamayim, Nathanawa, Lakam, Kal, Yawum, Wasalak Nawa, Kabawath Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kabawath Yanawa, Wala'ah, Tabiaya Nawa, Banasaya 1, Abol, Hawashaya Nawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwath, Waha'ala, Wahathaparith, Iwalamium, Aman.
In the English, Our Father, which art in heaven, be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it.
The prayer for the power of the Hakak in the Hebrew, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Baba Kashah, Nathan Lenawa, Hakak, the power Ah, Kal Makalah, Wakal Matawa, Hakak, La Tahar, Ha Matazarayim, Hakak, La Haklium, Hamatium, Hakak, Al Rarakawath, Hatama Allah, La Garashun, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, the water Aman.
Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it.
Pray for the blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh, Wa Yahweh Shai, Wa Mayaka Allah, Wa Alahayim, Matazabaya Ah, Alawap Yahana, Alawapium, Hasaranyam, Hakotazayanyam, Hakoyayoyum, Wahagwatium, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, the water Aman.
In the English, bless you, Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai, and Michael, and the angels, Command and General Yahana, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it.
It's the 121st Psalm in the Hebrew. Aisha'ah, Ayanya, Al-Hahariam, Ma'ayan, Yaba'ah, Isaiah, Ma'aim, Yahweh, Aisha, Shamayam, Arataza, Al Yathun, Lamawat, Regalka, Al Yanawam, Shamarka, Hanala'ah, Yanawam, Wala'ah, Yayashan, Shawamar, Yasha'ala, Yahweh, Shemarka, Yahweh, Tizalka, Al-Yad, Yam, Yawamam, Hashamash, La'ah, Yakaka, Wayarak, Balayallah, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Makal Rai, Yashamar, Afnapashka, Yahweh, Yashamar, Tazaatka, Wawaatka, Mayatha, Wa'aid Iwalum.
In the English, I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore.
The 83rd Psalm in the Hebrew. Alahayim, Al-Dami Alaka, Al-Thakarash, Al-Thashakwat, Al-Kayahana, Awayabyaka, Yahama, Yawan, Ra'ash, Al-Imaka, Yairayamwa, Sawadab, Wayatha, Yaitazawa, Al-Tazapawanyaka, Amarwa, Lakawa, Wanakakinam, Magoya, Wala Yazakar, Sham Yasha'ala, Iwada, Kaya, Nawa'ai Tazawa, Laba, Yakadwa, Alyaka, Barayath, Yakarathwa, Aholia, Alawam, Yashamai, Alayam, Mawa'aba, Wahagarium, Gabal, Wa'aimawan, Wa'aimalak, Palashath, I'm Yashabia, Tazawar, Gam Ashawar, Nalawa, Imam, Hayawa, Zarawai, Labanya Lawat, Salah, Aishalaham, Kamadian, Kasaya, Sara'ah, Kayabian, Banachal, Kwayashwan, Nashamadwa, Ba'ayan, Da'ara, Hayawa, Daman, La Arama, Shayatamwa, Nadayab Mawa, Ka'arab, Wakazaba, Wakazabak, Wakatazal, Manai, Kalnasaya Kamwa, Ashar, Amarwa, Nayarasha, Lanawa, Af, Na'awath, Alahayam, Alahaya, Sayatamwa, Kagogala, Kakwash, La Panyararaha, Ka'ash, Tabi'ira, Ya'ira, Wakalahaba, Talahat, Harayam, Khan, Baradapma, Basa Iraka, Wabasa, Wapafka, Fabahalam, Mala'a, Panyaham, Kwalawan, Wayabakwashwa, Shamka, Yahawa, Yabashwa, Wayabaholwa, Aid, Wayakaparwa, Wayabadwa, Wayadayawa, Kaya Atha, Shamka, Yahawa, Labadka, Al Yawan, Al Kal Ha'aratazar.
Keep not thou silence, O Yahweh, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assur also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. Salah, do unto them, as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeeb, yea, all their princes, as Zabah and as Almunah, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of Yahweh in possession. O my power, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth the wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire, so persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name. O Yahweh, let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the most high of all the earth.
Oh, okay. Yeshab, which means to be seated.
Most High in Christ, back at it once again. Sabbath service, Durham, North Carolina. All right, so where we left off last week, where, brother?
Genesis 21 and 19.
Genesis chapter 21 and verse 19. All right, so you want to go there. If you have a Tanakh, you know what I'm saying, that's excellent. Use your Tanakh and go to Genesis chapter 21 and verse 19. If not, you can just go on your phone, blueletterbible.org, go to that scripture and click on where it says tools, and it'll bring up the Hebrew, and you can follow along. So obviously, Yonazar, of course, is going to begin reading. We're going to read 7 verses, 7 sets of 7 in Hebrew, right? We're going to read 7 verses in Hebrew, and then we're going to translate it, and we're going to do that 6 more times after that. You know what I'm saying? If time allows us, all right? So whenever you're ready, brother.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 21 and verse 19 in Hebrew. Waya gapak alahayim af ayanaya wathara'ah ba'ar or ba'ara mayam wathalaka wathamala'ah af hakamath mayam wathashak af hana'ar. Verse 20. Wayahaya alahayam af hana'ar waya gadal wayashab bama the bar salake bama the bar salake wayahaya rabah kashaf. Verse 21. Wayashab bama dabar ba'aran wathakwak lawa amawa or amwa asha ma'arataza matazarayam. Verse 22. Wayahaya ba'aith ahawa'a waya amar abiyamalak wapayakal shar tazaba'awa al abraham la amar alahayam aimak bakal ashar atha aisha. Verse 23. Wa aitha hashaba'ai laya ba'alahayam hana am vashakor laya wala naya okay wala nakadia kathasak ashar aishia fire aimaka or aimak for aisha aimadia wa aim ha'aratazar ashar garatha ba. Verse 24. Waya Amar Abraham Anakia Ashabai. Verse 25. Waha Wakath Karamakan. Abraham Ath Abayamlak Al Adawath Ba'ar Hamayam Ashar Wazalawa Ibadya Abayamlak. Yeah, that's Abimelech. I'm trying to, Abayamlak. Yeah. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 21, verse 19 in English. And the Most High opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the bottle with the water and gave the lad drink. So if I may, as we know, this is when Sarah sent Hagar, the Egyptian woman, and her son out from their dwelling place because the little boy was, first of all, she was disrespectful too, and the little boy Ishmael was disrespectful and was teasing Isaac. So she sent them out, and the Most High sided with Sarah on that occasion against Abraham's pleasure. Okay, Salakia. Verse 20. And the Most High was with the lad, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness and became an archer. Verse 21. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. Verse 22. And it came to pass at the time that Abimelech and Phicol, the chief captain of the host, spake unto Abraham, saying, God is with thee in all that thou doest. Verse 23. Now therefore swear unto me here by God that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I have done unto thee, thou shalt do unto me, and to the land wherein thou hast sojourned. Verse 24. And Abraham said, I will swear. Verse 25. And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of a well of water, which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. Okay. So I guess they're having a little dispute here. And Abraham is saying, like, yo, I made this promise to you, but your boys took my well. I believe that's what's going on here. And as part of the deal, let me have my well back. Because Abraham, he had a lot of property and a lot of cattle. Salakia. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 21 and 26 in the Hebrew. Waya Amar, Abimelech, Bayamalak, La'ah, Yada Ithia, Maya, Aisha, Ath, Hadabar, Hazah, Wagam, Atha, La'ah, Hagadath, Laya, Lagum, Salaki, Wagum, Salaki, Anakia, La'ah, Shema'ithia, Balathia, Hayawum. Verse 27. Wayakwak, Abraham, Taza'an, Wabakwar, Wayathan, La Abamialak, Waya Bakarathwa, Shanyaham, Barayath. Verse 28. Wayatazab. Right? That's right. How you say it, right? Wayatazab. 28 first word. Wayatazab. Or Tazab, right? Khan. Wayatazab. Abraham Ath. Shabai. Kabashath. Hat Taza'an. Labadahan. Labadhan. Labadhan. Verse 29. Waya Amar Abayam Malak Al Abraham Ma Hana Shabai Kabashath Ha Allah Ashar Ha Tazabath Labadna. Verse 30. Waya Amar Kaya Ath Shabai Kabashath the Quack Mayadaya Mayadia Salakia Iba War Fahaya Laya La Aida Kaya Haparathia Ath Haba'ar Haza'ath. 31's the last or 32? Started at 26. 32's the last concert. Verse 31. Al Khan Quara'a Lamakwawum Hahawa'a Ba'ar Shabai Kaya Sham Nashaba'aiwa Shanyahum. Verse 32. Wayakarathwa Barayath Baka'ar Shabai Wayakwam Abia Malak Wapaya Kal Shar Tazaba'awa Wayashabwa Al Aratazar Palashathium. This is the book of Genesis and chapter 21, verse 26 in English. And Abimelech said, I wot not who hath done this thing, neither didst thou tell me, neither yet heard I of it, but today. So he's saying that he didn't hear about this dispute about the well, and he didn't hear about it until this day. He don't know nothing about what's going down, you know. So he's telling Abraham, listen, you know, I'm going to deal with you squarely. So let's read on. He didn't learn about it until this day. Verse 27, and Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them unto Abimelech, and both of them made a covenant, an agreement between two parties. That's what a covenant is. Verse 28, and Abraham set 7 ewes of lamb of the flock by themselves. Verse 29, and Abimelech said unto Abraham, what mean these 7 ewes lambs, which thou hast set by themselves? Verse 30, and he said, for these 7 ewes lambs shalt thou take of my hand, that they may be a witness unto me, that I have digged this well. Verse 31, wherefore he called that place Beersheba, because they swear both of them. So you see right here is how righteous Abraham was. You understand? He gave up these 7 ewes or the young lambs as a bond of the covenant, the agreement, the contract that they made. You know what I'm saying? And these are the things that made Abraham great in his righteousness, to the point where the Most High called him his friend. That's deep, you know. Verse 32. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. Then Abimelech rose up and Phicol, the chief captain of the host, that's the general of the army, or the captain of the army, and they returned into the land of the Philistines. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 21, verse 33 in the Hebrew. Wayatai Ashal, Baka'ar, no, Baba'ar, Shabai, Wayakwara'a, Shum, Bashum, Yahweh, Al Iwalum. Verse 34. Salakia. Wayagar, Abraham, Ba'aratazar, Paliashathium, Yamayam, Rabayam. This is the book of Genesis chapter 22 and verse 1 in Hebrew. Wayahaya, Akar, Hadabarium, Ha'Allah, Waha Alahayim, Nasa, Af, Abraham, Waya Amar, Aliyawa, Abraham, Waya Amar, Hagaya, no, Hagagia. Verse 2. Waya Amar, Kwak, Na'a, Af, Banak, Af, Yahayad, Deka, Bashar, Ahabath, Af, Yatazakwak, Yatazakwak, Walad, oh no, Salakia, Walaka, Laka, Al, Aratazar, Hamaria, Waha Lahawa, Shum, La'ila, Al, Akkad, Haharium, Ashar, Amar, Aliaka. Verse 3. Waya Shakam, Abraham, Babakwar, Waya Kabash, Af, Kamarwa, Waya Kwak, Af, Shunya, Nairiawa, Afwa, Ra'af, Yatazakwak, Banwa, Wayabakwai, Aitazaya, Ila, Wayakwum, Wayalaka, Al, Hamakwawum, Ashar, Amar, Lawa, Alahayim. 25 is the last one. Verse 24. By a woman. We did two in we in 22.
32 in a second. So 21, 21, 33.
No, we started in 21 and we did 33, 32 and 33. No, 33 and 34.
Okay, we good now. Well, now you go to the next chapter?
Yeah, we in chapter 2, verse 24.
22.
Yeah, 22, verse 4.
Verse 4.
And 5 is the last
No,
one.
okay, you said 25.
Okay.
I got you.
Salakia, sir. My bad.
25.
Verse 4. By a woman, Hashalashia, Yayish, how you say that? Hashalaya Shia. Halallah Layashia. Waya Sha'a. Abraham Af. Ayanayawa. Waya Ra'a Af. Hamakwawum. Marakwak. Verse 25. Waya Amar Abraham Al Nairiawa. Shabwa Lakam Pa Aim Hakamawar Wa Anaya wa anaya, waha na'ar, nalaka, aid, ka, wana shafaf, fafakwa, wana shafakwa,
Yeah.
wana shafakwa, wana shafakwa, wana shawaba, aliyakam. Okay, so let's go back to the previous chapter. Let's go down to verse 33. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 21, verse 33 in English. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. Power. And Abraham, verse 34, and Abraham sojourned in the Philistines' land many days. Okay, so you notice, like, it's always the same. Whenever we start to grow and become a nation, that's when everybody becomes our enemy. That's the theme that I keep seeing here. As long as we, like, a few of us, you know what I'm saying, nobody cares. But when we start becoming a nation, it's always a problem to all the heathens round about us, man. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 22 and verse 1 in English. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. Verse 2. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son, Isaac. Now remember that, thine only son, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering unto one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. Verse 3. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass and took two of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which the Most High had told him. Verse 24. Then on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. Verse 4. Then on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. Verse 5. Getting ahead of myself. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. Come.
Kind of getting real. You know what I'm saying? Abraham just got told to do something, you understand, that is, extreme. I guess it out. Damn right. That's exactly what he was given. He was given an order to do something, you know what I'm saying, that you can bet your bottom dollar he didn't want to do. He didn't want to do it. It's not about, there's no other way to look at it. Ain't no father want to see anything happen to their son. But his God, the power, told him to do this thing, gave him an order, as Officer Sadak said. We're going to see what happens next, right? So I'm going to go to Genesis chapter 22 and verse 6 in the Hebrew. Salakia. Wayakwak, Abraham, Ath, Itazayah, Ha'ila, Wayashum, Al, Yatazakak, Banwa, Wayakwak, Bayadwa, Ath, Ha'ash, Wa'ath, Hama'akala, Wayalakwa, Shanyahum, Yakadwa. Verse 7. Salaki, Waya Amor, Yatazakak, Al, Abraham, Abiwa. It's like Abayawa, Waya Amor, Abaya, Waya Amor, Hananya, Banya, Waya Amor, Hana, Ha'ash, Waha Aitazayam, Wa'aya, Ha'ash. It's like Hasha, La'ila. Verse 8. Waya Amor, Abraham, Alahayim, Yara'ah, Lawa, Hasha, La'ila, Banya, Wayalakwa, Shanyahum, Yakadwa. Verse 9. Wayaba'awa, Al, Hamakwawam, Ashar, Amar, Lawa, Ha'alahayim, Wayabun, Shum, Abraham, Ath, Hamazabak, Wayarak, Slakia, Waya-Iraq. Oh, yeah, because Iraq means to put in order. Slakia. Yeah, that's Iraq. Waya-Iraq, Ath, Ha'itazayum, Wayaquad, Ath, Yatazakak, Bunwa, Wayashum, Athawa, Isle, Hamazabak, Mama Isle, La Itazayum. Verse 10. I think the last one is 12. Genesis chapter 22 and verse 10. Wayashalak, Abraham, Ath, Yadwa, Wayakwak, Ath, Hama Akalath, Lashakat. It's kind of Lashakat, Ath, Bunwa. Verse 11. Wayakwara, Alyuwa, Malaak, Yahweh, Man, Hashamyim, Waya Amor, Abraham, Waya Amor, Hananya. Verse 12. Waya Amor, Al, Tashalak, Yadka, Al, Hana Ir, it's like Hana Ira, Wa'al, Da'ish, Lawa, Mawa'aba, it's like Ma'awama, Kaya, Aitha, Yadaithya, Yadaithya, Kaya, Yara'a, Alahayim, Atha, Wala'a, Kashakath, Ath, Banaka, or Banka, Ath, Yakayad, it's like Yakayadka, Mamanaya. That's the end of verse 12 in the Hebrew.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 22 and verse 6 in English. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac, his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. Verse 7. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? Verse 8. And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. Verse 9. And they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order and bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar upon the wood. Verse 10. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. And verse 11, and the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here I am. And he said, verse 20, Salaki, verse 12, and he said, lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. So this is the righteousness of Abraham. Like, and you know, the thing about it is, he said, I know the Lord will provide a lamb. You know, like, he didn't really know, but he had the faith that whatever he did, it was going to be the right thing. That's right. That's great faith, man. And not everybody could do it.
And think about it like this. You got to understand this. Understand Abraham's importance in this whole thing. You understand? Abraham didn't have the benefit of being an Israelite. You understand what I'm saying? Abraham didn't have generations and generations of men before him and fathers before him to teach him how to serve God. No, Abraham was born amongst heathens. You know what I'm saying? Now, at a time, now we're using the word heathen here just to mean they didn't know the Most High. He wasn't raised by people who feared the Most High and kept the law. That's not who raised Abraham. That's why it says Abraham left his father's house. You know what I'm saying? Abraham was starting from zero. So the Lord had to make sure that Abraham, because he was going to do what? He was going to make him the father of many nations. He had to make sure that Abraham was a worthy servant. He had to make absolutely sure that this is the man through which, you understand, I'm going to bring forth my nation. I'm going to bring forth my people out of him. You understand? So what Abraham did was he showed faith, man. He didn't have a written law of Moses to just tell him, okay, do this and you won't get your head cut off. Abraham, that's why, well, General broke it down the other day. Abraham didn't have that. That's what happened to Israel. That's why Israel fell, because we had you go ahead and mess with somebody's rib if you want to. Now you got a bunch of Haitians knocking down your door. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. You know the vibes. Let's go. You know what you did. And so you brothers wouldn't sleep with their brother's wife, not because they weren't lustful bastards, not because they loved their brother, but because they just didn't want somebody to come and chop their head off. Abraham, just like us today, Abraham didn't have that. He didn't have anybody who was going to come chop his head off if he had sex with somebody's rib. Abraham didn't have anybody who was going to chop his head off if he was a pedophile. You understand? Everything he did was through faith. He did straight up through faith. You understand? Read on, brother.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 22, and verse 13 in the Hebrew. Wayasha'ah Abraham ath ayanayawa wayara'ah wahana ayal akar na akaz basabaka bakwara nayawa no bakwaranyawa. Yeah, that's it. Bakwaranyawa wayalaka Abraham wayakwak af ayal waya ay lahawa la ayla fakath banwa. Verse 14. Wayakwara'a Abraham Sham Hakwa Hamakwawam Hahawa'a Yahweh Yara'ah Ashar Ya'amar Hayawum Bahar Yahweh Yara'ah. Verse 15. Wayakwara'a Alaka Malaka Salakia Malaka Yahweh Al Abraham Shanyath Man Hashemayim. Verse 16. Waya Amar Baya Nashaba'ithia Naam Yahweh Kaya Ya'ain Ashar Aishiath Af Hadabar Hazah Wala'ah Hashakath Af Banka or Banak. Verse 16, last line, second word.
Oh, 22 and 16?
Yeah, 22 and 16. Last line, second word.
Yeah, Bunka.
Bunka.
Yeah, sorry.
Ka. Bunka. Af. Yakaya. Yakaya daka. 17, the last one.
The last one.
18.
19.
19.
Started 13, right?
Kanwanka.
19.
Kanwanka. Verse 17. Kaya. Barak. Abarakak. Abarakaka. Waharab. Waharaba. Araba Af. Zaraika. Kakawakabaya. Hashemayim. Oh, that's all right. Right now, I see. Kakawakabia. Oh.
The ka, we use that prefix ka as or like. Then Kawakabia is
The stars. Kanawaka, so it's water. Hashemayim. Wakahawo. Wakak. Wakakwo. Wakakawo. Wakakawo. Ashar al Shapath. Hayam. Wayarash. Zara'aika. Af. Sha'ira. Ayanayawa. Hold up. Oh, I lost it. Come back. Verse 18. Wahab Fabarakawa. Bazara'aika. Kal Gawayaya. Ha'arataza Iquab. Ashar Shama'ith. Baqualia. Verse 19. Wayashab Abraham al Nairiyawa. Waya Kwamwa. Waya Lakwa. Yakadwa al Ba'ar Shabai. Wayashab Abraham Baba'ar Shabai. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 22 and verse 13 in English. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. Verse 14. And Abraham called the name of this place Jehovah Jireh, as it is said to this day, the mount of the Lord, it shall be seen. Verse 15. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time. And one of the things I just want to bring out and point out is that you see here, they explain it to you, and they letting you know that when they said it, the Most High spoke to Abraham, it's not direct. It's a messenger that speaks for the Most High to Abraham. And called an angel. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time. Verse 16. And by myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son. Verse 17. That in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of heaven, and as the sand which is upon the sea shore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemy. Verse 18, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. Verse 19, so Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 22, verse 20 in Hebrew. Wayahaya, Akaria, Hadabarium, Ha'Allah, Wayagad, La Abraham, La Amar, Hana, Yalada, Malakah, Gum, Hawa'a, Banyam, Wanakawar, Akiaka. Verse 21, Af, Iwataza, Bakarwa, Wa'af, Boaz, Akiawa, Wa'af, Kwama Wa'al, or Kwama Wa'ala, Abiyah, Aram. Verse 22, Wa'af, Kashad, Wa'af, Kazawa, Wa'af, Paladash, Wa'af, Yadalap, Wa'af, Hafa Wa'al, Batha Wa'ala. Verse 23, Wabatha Wa'ala, Yalad Af, Rabakwa, Shamna, Allah, Yalada, Malaka, Lanakawar, Akia, Abraham. Verse 24, Waya Lagashwa, Washama, Ra'awama, Wathalad Gum, Hawa'a Ath, Tabak, Wa'ath, Gakam, Wa'ath, Fakash, Wa'ath, Ma'aibak, Salakia, Ma'aika. We did 5. 2 more here. 23. 2 is the last one, right? 2 or 3? 2 cards. So, okay. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 23, and verse 1. Wayahayawa, Kayaya, Shara, Ma'ah, Shana, Wa Aisharium, Shana, Wa Shabai, Shanyam, Shanya, Hayaya, Shara. Verse 2. Wathamath, Shara, Bakwaria, Bakwariath, Arabai, Hawa'a, Thabarwan, Ba'aratazar, Canaan, Wayaba'a, Abraham, Lasapad, Lashara, Wala Bakafaf, Wala Bakatha. Okay, let's go back. This is the book of Genesis. Where did we start at 20? Yeah. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 22, verse 20 in English. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she hath also borne children unto thy brother Nahor. Verse 21, Huz, his firstborn, and Buz, his brother. You know, I never noticed that. And Camil, the father of Aram. Verse 22, and Chesed, and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Verse 23, and Bethuel begat Rebekah. These 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And his concubines, verse 24, and his concubines, whose name was Reumah, she bare also Tabah, and Gaham, and Vahash, and Ma'akah. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 23, and verse 1 in the English. And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah, 127 years. Verse 2, and Sarah died in Kirjabatharabah. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. He loved her, man. She was a great woman, man. Like, she's a great woman. Like, she called Abraham Lord. And I'm always going to try to give props to Sarah because she was such a great sister that she's the model for sisters until this day. You understand? Because she called Abraham Lord, and the only time she ever went against Abraham, the Most High sided with her. And that's when they cast out Ishmael and his mother Hagar. That's the only time that I've seen that she went against Abraham. She stood against him, and she was right. And the Most High backed her and told Abraham to listen to your wife. So Sarah, when we say the daughters of Sarah, that's what we're talking about. You understand? She's the model. I mean, we have several models, but she's the beginning of the model of the women of Israel. You know, Sarah, the mother of us all. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 23, verse 3 in Hebrew.
Also, she's our mother because who's not our mother? Exactly. Hagar, that, you know what I'm saying, heathen is not our mother. You know what I'm saying?
And you notice, if I may, sir, the Most High didn't even recognize him as Abraham's son anymore because he's his son, but he's not recognized. You understand? So I don't know what these so-called Arabs is talking about.
Right, because the Lord deals with the spirit. You know what I'm saying? That's why the scriptures tell you that one was of the flesh, right, and one was of the spirit. Now, to some silly person who doesn't know the Bible, that might confuse them. You understand? But what is were both Isaac and Ishmael born the same way? Did Abraham have sex with both of their mothers and make babies? It's the exact same thing, but one was what? One was of the promise and one is of the flesh. Right? That's why Ishmael is not recognized. Is he physically Abraham's son? Absolutely. He's physically no less Abraham's son than Isaac. But the seed is called in who? In Isaac. He doesn't get the inheritance. So Isaac is the son. That's why the scriptures refer to him as what? As Abraham's only begotten son. That's in the Bible. So when someone talks about Christ and they think that, well, Christ was the Lord's only begotten son and he was born of the Spirit, so that means he didn't have a mother. You're an idiot. It's like he didn't have a father, Slakia. That's not what that means. Because Isaac was also, and we know that Isaac is who? But who else? Who else is Isaac? Who else is Isaac? Anybody?
Son of Abraham, the father of Isaac, the only son of Abraham.
Mm-hmm. Is he anybody in the reincarnation? Isaac.
Yeah, he's Christ.
There we go. There we go. Right? Isaac is Christ. You understand? He's one of the, now I hear say reincarnation. He's one of the what's the word? Appearances. That's all I like to say. Right? One of the appearances of Christ. Christ was Isaac. You understand? And so when it talks about being born of the Spirit, it has nothing to do with not having sex. It just has everything to do with the Lord chose this one. Okay? So I just wanted to point that out. But go ahead, brother.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 23, and verse 3 in the Hebrew. Come on, sir. Wayakwam Abraham Ma'al Panya Mathwa. Wayadabar al Banya Kath La Amar. Verse 4. Gar Watha Washab Anakia Imakam Thanawa or Thunwa Laya Akazath Quabar Imakam Wa'ak Karaba. No, Wa'ak Kabara Quabara Mathia Malapanya. Verse 25. Waya not Waya Ainiwa Banya Kath Ath Abraham La Amar Lawa. Verse 6. Shama Ainwa Adunya Nashaya Alahayim Atha Batha Wakanwa Bama Bakar Kwabarianwa Kwabar Ath Mathaka Ayash Mamanawa Ath Kwabariwa La'a Yakala Mamaka Makwabar Mathaka 37. Waya Kwam Abraham Waya Shakathwa La'aim Ha'arataza Labanya Kath. We started at 33. Yeah.
No, we started at 3. The last one's verse 9.
I mean, verse 9. I don't know why I keep saying the verse 9. Come on, sir. Okay, Thwada, sir. Most High Christ. Verse 7. Waya Kwam Abraham Waya Shathawa Waya Shathakwa La'aim Ha'arataza Labanya Kath. Verse 8. Waya Dabar Athum La'amar Am Yash Ath Napashakam Lakwabar Ath Mathia Malapanya Shama Iwanaya Wapagaiwa. Laya Salakia. But I par one. Ban to the car. Verse 9. Wayathan Laya Ath Ma'irath Hama Kabbalah Ashar Lawa Ashar Bakwataza Shada Hawa Bakasap Mala'a Yafa Nana Yafun Yafun Yafanana Laya Bafa Wakakun La'a Kawath Kwabar. Okay. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 23, verse 3 in English. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, verse 4, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. Verse 5, and the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, verse 6, hear us, my Lord, thou art a mighty prince amongst us. In the choice of our sepulchres, bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre. How do you pronounce it? I always sepulchre. Sepulchre. Okay, got it now. Sepulchre. But thou mayest bury thy dead. Sepulchre. Okay. Verse 7. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land and to the children of Heth. Verse 8. And he communed with them, saying, if it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me, and entreat me for me to Ephron, the son of Zohar. Verse 9, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he hath, which is in the end of his field, for as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for a possession of a burying place. So here he's offering, he found a very nice burial place, and he's willing to pay the brothers for the spot. You understand? Everything here, all of the dealings here are righteous dealings, man. This is important, man. And he did this as Salakia. Ooh-wee. I had a brain freeze. Salakia. As my brother brought out earlier, you know, that he just dealt righteously wherever he went. And that's how he got to the point where he was, because of his righteousness. Where in this world, you become rich by being wicked. That's the difference. Okay. That's it on that, sir. We go back to the English. Okay, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 23 and verse 3 in English. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth. Oh, I just read those. Yeah, I'm flipping. It's a lot.
No sweat. All right. So that's the book of Genesis, chapter 20. What was it, 23?
Yeah, 23.
23 and verse 9. So next week, yeah, we're going to be at 23 and verse 10. Genesis chapter 23 and verse 10 is where we're going to pick it up next week. All right. From here, we're going to go ahead and clip up the Sabbath service. We're going to get into these prayers and everything. But first thing first. You write it down?
I got it.
Okay.
Okay, there we got it.
Most High in Christ. Imadium. Men of Israel, gird thyself and prepare to salute the Torah. How about Shem Shabrak Yah?
How about Shem Shabrak? Yeah.
That Imadium, which means to stand. Wapan Yakwadum, which means turn to face the east. We're going to start out with the Lord's Prayer. We're going to start out in the Hebrew.
Testing 1 2 1 2. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shemka, Yahweh, Malakwaka, Tabaa, Ratazayaka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashamayim, Nathanawa, Lakam, Kal, Yawum, Wasalak Nawa, Kabawath Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kabawath Yanawa, Wala, Tabiaya Nawa, Manasaya 1, Abol, Hawashaya Nawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwith, Waha'ala, Wahafraparith, Iwalumium, Aman.
In the English, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it.
The prayer for the power of the Hakak in the Hebrew. Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Baba Kashah, Nathan Lenawa, Hakak, La Ra Para'ah, Kal Makala, Wakal Marawa, Hakak, La Tahar, Ha Matazarayim, Hakak, La Hakwim, Hamathium, Hakak, Al Rarakawath, Hatama Allah, Lagarashan, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Dwara Aman.
Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it.
For the blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatha Yahweh, Wa Yahweh Shai, Wa Mayaka Allah, Wa Alahayim, Matazabaya, Alawap Yahana, Ha Alawapium, Ha Saranyum, Ha Kotazayanyum, Ha Koya Yoyum, Wa Hagwatium, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Dwara Aman.
Bless you, Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai, and Michael, and the angels, Commanding General Yahana, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai. Thank you, so be it.
So be it. Psalm 121 in the Hebrew. Aisha, Ayanya, Ahahariam, Ma'ayan, Yava'ah, Isaiah, Ma'aim, Yahweh, Aisha, Shamayam, Wa'arataza, Al Yathan, Lamawat, Regalka, Al Yanawam, Shamarka, Hanala'ah, Yanawam, Wala'ah, Yayashun, Shawamar, Yasha'ala, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al Yad, Yamyaka, Yawamam, Hashemash, La'ah, Yakaka, Wayarak, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Makal Rai, Yashamar, Afnapashka, Yahweh, Yashamar, Tazaadka, Wawa Wa'adka, Mayatha, Wa'id, Iwalum.
I will lift up mine eyes into the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Yasha'Allah shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore.
83rd Psalm in the Hebrew. Alahayim, Al-Dami Alaka, Alpha Karash, Alpha Shakwat, Al Kayahana, Iwayabu Yaka, Yahama, Yawan, Ra'ash, Al-Aimaka, Ya'ira Yamwa, Sawada, Wayata, Ya'itazawa, Al-Tazapawanyaka, Amarwa, Lakawa, Wanakakidam, Magoya, Wala'a, Yazakar, Sham Yasha'ala, Iwada, Kaya, Nawa'itazawa, Laba, Yakadwa, Aliaka, Barayaf, Yakarafwa, Aholia, Adawam, Wayashamai, Alayam, Mawaba, Wahagarium, Gabal, Wa'ima1, Wa'ima Palashat, I'm Yashabia, Tazawar, Gam Ashawar, Nalawa, Imam, Hayawa, Zarawai, Labanya Lawat, Salah, Aishalaham, Kamadian, Kasaya, Sara'ah, Kayabian, Banakal, Kwayashwan, Nashamadwa, Ba'ayan, the Ara, Hayawa, Daman, La Arama, Shayatamwa, Nada, Yamawa, Ka'arab, Wakazaba, Wakazabak, Wakatazol, Manai, Kalnasaya Kamwa, Ashar, Amarwa, Naya Rasha, Lanawa, Af, Na'awaf, Alahayim, Alahaya, Shayatamwa, Kagogela, Kakwash, La Pamanawaka, Ka'ash, Tabiaira, Ya'ira, Wakalahaba, Dalahat, Harayam, Khan, Daradapma, Basa Iraka, Wabasa, Wapafka, Tabahalam, Mala'a, Panyaham, Kwalawan, Wayabakwashwa, Shimka, Yahawa, Yabashwa, Wayabahalwa, Aida Aid, Wayakaparwa, Waya Abadwa, Waya Dayawa, Kaya Atha, Shimka, Yahawa, Labadka, Al Yawan, Al Kal Ha'aratazar.
Keep not thou silence, O Yahweh. Hold not thy peace, and be not still. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They're confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, the Baal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asor also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. Salah, do unto them, as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb, and like Zeeb, yea, or their princes, as the Ba, and as the Amunah, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of Yahweh in possession. O my power, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth the wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name. O Yahweh, let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the most high of all the earth.
Men of Israel. Imagine, men of Israel, we give the teacher one courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Imagine Shabbat. Imagine Barak. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Barakatah. Yajim Atah. Class is next.